Sanam, good morning. This is Ram Krishan Singh, and today it seemed so far that I get to have some space to do a little video. Past couple of days, my daughter has been waking up early, regardless of what time I get up. She would get up and just wouldn't allow me to do any sort of video and just be on call all day. That's how it is normally, but I try to get up early so I have some space to meditate and just center, and then the rest of the day is service and activities and kids, family, which is great. But I really value the morning time, and um, yeah, it's my sacred space. It's my sacred time, and yeah, it's important. So after these days of not doing videos, we'll see what is going to come today, but at this moment I have no idea. Yeah. So just using this time as an opportunity to just practice going deeper and deeper into a place of just not knowing and being okay with not knowing. And this is the heart of what I consider to be spiritual practice, you know, is to be able to accept this moment completely without any sense of perception or idea or even a fixed viewpoint, but just allowing it to be complete mystery. Just allow this moment to be what this moment is and surrender to that. And that's a tremendous liberation, because we don't need to practice to do that. There's not any practice that ultimately we need to achieve anything or gain something or build something. The idea of cultural detox, which I've talked about in previous videos, is about uh, dissolving or unbuilding or unlearning. It's about returning to the primal essence of innocence, of presence, and basically that presence gets masked up and labeled and layered with clothing until we have such a huge burden of an identity, and then expectations on the moment, and then we're caught in like a way of doing things that we just miss the moment entirely. We're in this state of just wanting to change this moment, wanting to achieve something, get something out of it, or get away from something. It just keeps us in a total dream, keeps us in a state of becoming, because we're always running away from this moment. And that's what the Buddha talked about. He said the cessation of becoming and just allowing ourselves to be, where being isn't even something. That's just a label. And any of the words are just labels that point to this moment. And I believe that that's what all traditions really are pointing to, is this moment and a full presence in this moment without any baggage or layers that mask this moment. And so there's this, I really like this concept that presence is purity, because presence is this transparency, presence is this fully aware, awake, and there's not any sort of label to presence. There's not a story to presence. There's not any sort of a baggage or a burden. It's also like the pure, only the pure can pass through the eye of the needle or something like that. But the eye of the needle is like this moment, and only those who have shed all identification can really enter into this moment. And so this is like, it can be seen as something very maybe woo woo or spiritual, or something that takes us away from like everyday life, but it's incredibly practical. It allows us to be just ourselves in this moment fully, and doesn't hold any sort of expectation up to what we need to be or perform or do. And then it also helps us to just experience this moment without preconceptions and without also hidden motives that are, again, seeking something out of this moment. So for me, this is what my personal practice continues to evolve deeper into, and gone through many incarnations of practice throughout my life. And right now seems to be a cycle of returning back to that essence, that primal essence of just presence. And I like to talk about heart presence because for me that's the most authentic. Uh, that's the most authentic center, I guess. It's where I find my true self. It's where I find my authentic expression flows from. Is my heart. So, and it's this. It feels like the center, and it's a yeah. It can be more concepts as well, but the reality of things is a lot of times we think that our mind is in our heads, but our mind is not like our sense of perception, and that which we call consciousness is not isolated in a single part of our bodies. And the more that we can release tension and release and really come into awareness of what's happening and release any sort of tension within our body, we start to realize, okay, that there is just an awareness. And that awareness, as we release into this moment where there's not any sort of holding, there's just this surrendered, relaxed awareness and presence, it really seems to radiate from the heart. There seems to be an awareness that is self-aware, self-knowing. It's like the sun in the heart area. And I like to use the imagery that the heart is the sun, is like the source, and then the mind is like the moon. It's reflective in nature. And so the more that we can like just let go, we come into more and more of the radiance of our natural self and our true essence, and it creates a great ease to life, that we're not needing to be anything. We're not needing to do anything. We're not needing to perform anything to receive approval. These are all complexes and conditioned phenomenon, and human beings at this time on earth it's such a complex world that we live in, and the upbringing that we receive and the training and all that stuff is so it's crazy. It's crazy making. It makes us get caught in cycles that really doesn't even offer a moment of fresh air, a breath of our authentic self of presence. So the more that we can cultivate our practice or our moment to moment awareness as mere presence and recognize that that's the whole destination, that's the whole goal, that there's not this enlightenment of finding a mountain and climbing the mountain and one day it's going to be completely different. It's really about stripping away the perceptions and stripping away all of the baggage that masks this moment, where the moment is completely alive and vibrant and speaking and just interacting. The moment is here now, and there's nowhere to go to find that. Really, it's about releasing the tendencies, the behaviors, the movements that are constantly keeping us unsettled and out of this presence and this stillness. So to me, that's the goal. To me, that's the destination. And it really shortens the path. The idea of a path dissolves when we just identify what our goal really is. And again, many different traditions out there have many different ways of talking about it, and I believe they're all just talking about this moment, and they do the best that they can using the language of the times that the paths were formed. The founders of the different traditions recognized the truth and shared it in their own language and style and form of their culture in a very natural way, and then it was interpreted. But those interpretations, when they're translated into today's language and today's way of talking about things, doesn't necessarily have that same potency and aliveness, and they can become very sort of stale and empty and rigid, and just the words become more of like a ladder that that there's a constant climbing to achieve something and to get somewhere, rather than this living presence that the words are able to convey, and point to. And so, yeah, that's a reflection for today. That's what's alive in my heart is this practiceless presence, and restructuring, reorienting to this moment as the only place we really need to go, and the only thing we need to achieve. There's no needing to achieve, because we already are. It's just this illusion because of the movements, and because of the movements, getting caught in the movements, literally the attention just is shifting constantly with the movements, instead of just allowing the movements to be there in the presence. It's all a matter of perspective, and we have this idea of a choice and free will to be able to shift our destination and our goal and our identity from this place of a person who was brought up in a certain way and that's who I am, to more of a mystery of who I am. But through that allowing of there to be a mystery, there's a relaxation into the truth. And in that relaxation of the truth, there's a self-illuminated knowing that already exists inherent in that truth. And then in that knowing, there's no need to achieve anything. There's no need to seek after anything. And especially there's no need to like question anything. We just allow things to be as they are, as a mystery for what it is. So I'm happy to continue to share more and talk more in this moment. I think that that's enough for this moment. If anyone ever has any questions about anything, I'm happy to share about different angles, different perspectives, practical things. Happy to talk, to share, and or not. And I don't know how often it will be, because I've been aiming for every day, and then that doesn't always happen. So it will happen as it happens. And I look forward to being able to be more consistent, but at the same time, maybe it's never going to be that way. Why? I don't know. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being you. And until next time, Salam.